refresh until Twitch shows something. That was unusually fast. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and tell the world that we're streaming. Streaming some game dev. Gonna do some learning of shader stuff. Paste. And we'll pop on over to here and repeat the process. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and do shader work today. Now that's a little bit unusual because I don't know how to do shaders. So you are going to watch me try and figure out how to do shaders, and I'm sure that's going to be very exciting for everybody. I know the theory of shaders. I'm not starting completely from scratch, but I've never really programmed any. I've only ever built them using plug-and-play elements. That said, let's go ahead and just dive straight into it. What I'm trying to do is create a shader which can take a real-world coordinate or an in-game world coordinate and shade everything near that coordinate with a different set of parameters. Probably start with some emission, but after that I'll probably add in things like textures and stuff. But that is something I can do very easily using a plug-and-play shader tool. Unfortunately, my preferred plug-and-play shader tool broke. It gives me weird black patches. But since this is easy, and I have to figure out how to do shaders for planets later anyway, might as well use this as an excuse to start to learn some shader stuff. This is the one that I created in ShaderForge. It doesn't work right. So we're going to go ahead and create a new shader. Shader. There it is. So we've got standard, unlit, image, compute. I think that the standard shader is really all we need. We'll work with some of the other stuff more complexly later. We'll call this a near world shader, chord shader. Call it a chord shader. We should delete this perimeter shader. It's just going to distract us. So we can open this as just raw shader stuff. As I understand it, the Unity shader, the default shader, is a huge, huge beast. But what we can do is we can descend from that in a much more straightforward manner and only replace the tiny pieces that we need to replace. So we don't have to actually replicate all the functionality of the shader. We just have to staple on the little bit that we want to staple on, which is obviously going to be much, much easier than trying to repeat the progress that people have been making for the past 50 years on computer shaders. So we're going to need a couple of things. One of the things we're going to need is a world coordinate to shade from. That's going to have to be specified, so we're going to go ahead and add that in here. We're going to go and make this a vector 4, but I'm not sure what that is. This is a place where there is probably a lot of standards that I don't know yet. Like, how do I tell this that this is supposed to be a vector 4? I guess it's just vector. There we are. And what we're going to do is we're going to have X, Y, and Z as the world coordinates, and then we'll use our W as a range, you know, the amount of stuff we're going to try and shade. Doesn't take vector 3s, it only takes vector 4s, so we might as well take advantage of that and pack it in. Alright, so we're also going to have to put them down here. Now, is this a fixed 4 or is it a vector 4? I'm pretty sure it's a vector 4. Or is it a float? It's a float 4. Alright, that's fine. Okay, So in theory, that will give us an unused entry that we can edit. So we're going to go ahead and find the prox hull. You can see we're using the standard shader. We're going to switch that over to our new coord shader. Boom. Same with the prox interior. Coord shader. And you can see that our coord shader takes a couple of things, smoothness, metallic stuff, world coordinate being one of those things it takes. Now, if we drop those onto our stage, which we already have done, you can see that these are working fine as just default shaders. I've got a very light one and a very dark one. It's basic stuff here. What we are going to do now is override the functionality of this shader when it's near that world position that we want. And that's something I'm not 100% sure of how to do, but we'll go ahead and do it anyway. So here you can see a function which which does all of this work, right? The problem I've got here is I don't think that function is actually what we need. Albedo comes from a texture tinted by color. So my issue here is that I may not know. In fact, I know I don't. There's no may about it. I don't know how to get the coordinate of what we are shading and where to put that. If we take a look here in our little diagram that I've got up on the other, I've got a little tutorial up on the other screen. I didn't really look at it though, so it might not be a good one. But there's lots and lots of magic happening here, and that's going to be the case whenever you are doing some shader stuff. Whenever you're building on top of something big, and in this case it's a big shader, there's all sorts of special words that that's obviously going to happen a lot here. For example, they recommend using a variety of special values like text 2D and stuff like that, which I don't really have any interest in doing. But let's take a look at our input and see what the heck it is. It doesn't seem to be anything. All right, well, that's not very helpful. So we've got some values here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. So there's lots of functions, and I'm not sure which of these are functions I can use and which of them aren't. For example, there is a function demonstration here where it takes the position of the input, but it doesn't tell me how those are called. Like there's a struct vertex in and a struct vert input, struct vert output, and some pragmas, but I don't know what those mean. That's a shame. Let's try this other page, see whether it has something to say. Phenomena. No, this one doesn't understand. Okay, so hold on, I'll just do a search for it. Shader world coordinate. In your vertex shader, so something like this? No. I have a feeling that I'm doing something that's a little bit rough. They recommend this code, but I don't know where this code would go. I knew that this was going to be a little bit rough because I don't know anything about the shaders, really. I just know the basics of how they work. I don't know anything about the code. So these are some of the things that are in the system, but I don't know how that works. So people keep saying, sorry, people. The tutorials keep saying Pragma Vertex Vert, but I don't actually know what that does. Are we doing it? Pragma Target 3, Pragma Surface, Surf Standard. Okay. The input parameter v.vertex is passed in by the CPU program. And they recommend using this code, which is presumably more Unity specific than the other code I was given. The problem is that I'm inside the surface shader, and I don't think I want to be. Well, what they've done is created this function here, but I don't know what this is. App database v. This is just me typing in stuff that I found on the internet, which is not it's a great way to learn, but it's not a great thing to do live on camera. And the reason I'm doing this live on camera is because I got too lazy and didn't do it off camera, so I guess I'm stuck doing it on camera. And then what they did is Pragma Vertex Vert. Let's go just see whether or not this barfs up any errors. Shader, coord shader, custom shader, vertex function, vert number 0 has the wrong parameter. It has no modifier but needs in out at app data. I know that they're talking about this even though they highlighted that. Alright, in out. Has no return statement. Well, it's just a fragment, so I mean, I'm not talking about fragment shader. I'm talking about it's just a fragment of code. So obviously it's a little bit limited here. I should pop over to what is it called? Shader There's a test bed where you can go and see a whole bunch of shaders, and I don't remember what it's called. Still looking this stuff up here. So Pragma apparently defines various links up various things. So if I say Pragma vertex vert, that means to use the function called vert as a vertex shader, I think. And Pragma fragment frag would make the function frag your fragment shader. And what I really need to be doing is overriding those, but I don't know the way that it's supposed to work. So grind. Okay, so we'll go ahead and look up shader tutorial again and see if I can find the one that recommended Shader Toy. That's what it's called. Let's go pop on over to Shader Toy. I'm sure this won't affect my stream at all, especially since you can't see it. I'm on the wrong screen, and I really should be using the correct screen, but I've got like crap open. So what I'd like to do is see whether I can figure out how shaders work, but this is obviously a bit difficult given that these shaders are much more advanced in general than anything else. We're going to go ahead and sort by newest rather than hot, because I'd like to see some newbie's stupid little upload that they did just for kicks. But I really should find a tutorial that works, and unfortunately, it's not Not giving me much here. All right, so apparently this is the correct thing, but what I don't have is anything useful going on here. So if I take a look at this guy's demonstration, okay, so what he's done is he set up the CG program, Pragma. Yeah, that's not how you spell Pragma. Oh, I don't think anybody said anything, but I should check. Oh, two people came by. They said, shaders, Wonkers says. And Supafcan says, hey, just tuned in. What are you trying to do at the moment? I'm trying to figure out shaders. I don't know anything about shaders, except for I've done plugin shaders, but I've never tried to code them myself. So I'm struggling through the basics of understanding how the code of shaders works. What I'm trying to do is pretty easy. I'm trying to take a world coordinate, and if you are within a certain range of that world coordinate, I want you to be a different color. It's a very straightforward thing to do in theory, but in practice, I don't know enough about how this shit works, so it's a little bit rough. So what we're going to do is try and figure out what this is. So for example, they've got this thing where they type in this struct v2f. Now I've always been a little confused by when I see code for this, because it seems to integrate into the code base that I can't see, the hidden code of the underlying element. The hidden code of the shader. There's a lot of shader code behind this that you can't see. It seems to integrate into that really way too easily. Like, it always seems like they must be skipping something, but I've never tried it, so I guess I should try it. Probably helps if I spell things right. So for some reason, these two are highlighted and this one isn't. Chances are pretty high that MonoDevelop is a little screwed up with this. But see, I've just defined that struct, but then I go ahead and say that this function here returns it. But I guess what'll happen is that struct will get returned and then it'll be processed with these tags in mind, and overload or overwrite the standard vertex results. I think that's what's going to happen. That's not right. It's supposed to be an O. There we are. So then he goes and says o.pos equals mul unity matrix mvp v.vertex float 3 world pos. And I'm typing it rather than copying it because it's easier for me to figure out what's going on if I type it, at least in theory. Object to world v.vertex .xyz. And then we go and say o.wpos equals world pos. o.vpos equals v.vertex .xyz. And o.uv equals v.textchord xy. Okay, so those are just copying things over into our output, and then we're storing this world position as our wpos. Okay, so what we've done here is, I think I see it here. We've taken this struct v2f, and what we've added in is all some standards, and then this new one here, which is for some reason stored as texture coordinate 1, or tagged as texture coordinate 1, probably because that's just easiest. But basically we're just transferring shit across directly, except for that. And then what he adds in is a frag, which I think is the fragment shader. v2fi color. And then what he says is if, do I need to, no I don't, that's fine. He says if i.vpos.z equals i.wpos.z return float for 1001, else return float for. So this is basically a debug operation, which is pretty much what I'd like. And what it says is if the vpos is okay, so the vpos is the xyz. So if the z coordinate is equal to the z coordinate, then make it red. That's kind of interesting. I wonder why that is. Well, we'll go ahead and see whether this compiles. First things first. It does not. I expected as much. All right, so okay, so the surface shader is apparently getting in our way. I can comment that out like that. That's fine. We'll go ahead and just hide this surface shader. I mean, it was there by default. I didn't set this up, but apparently it doesn't use the same commenty outy bits. All right, well, we'll go in and just do hacks in front of everything then. Okay, so what have we got here? I don't see any errors, but I do see an awful lot of purple. Why purple? Doesn't purple normally mean that the thing is not working right? So this didn't wire up correctly. Something went wrong, and the only line that's different between mine and his. Let's see, is there an include? Unity CG.cg Inc. I don't see any includes here. No, there's no include. So maybe that's the difference. I need to include. That's not it. Unity CG.cg Inc. And I don't have this. This is new. Struct input. That's not part of this code snippet, so I guess I'll just delete it. See whether or not that barfs. Cannot implicitly convert float 3 to float 4 on line 68. Okay, so I don't know what that means. I don't know enough about shaders to know what I'm doing wrong yet. But what it's saying is that it's trying to convert from float 3 to float 4, or vice versa. And then it says it doesn't know what's going on at line 80, where there's no... So the surface shader has input in and in-out surface output standard O. And I sort of think that that might be enough to get me what I need, because all I need is the world position so I can return something. But all the examples I've got are from a different kind of way of doing it, using the vert and frag shaders. But unfortunately, this code sample doesn't compile. I'm curious what float 3 it sees me taking, because I don't see any float 3. Is frag itself float 3 somehow? And this unexpected end bracket is really bothering me. Okay, so that's not going to have any issues, so this is fine. The NCG should be there fine. So what's got the... They don't seem to be unbalanced. I don't see any reason why it should be confused about the end brackets. Yeah, it seems fine. Is it expecting something that I don't understand? Obviously. Shader warning and coord shader. Shader is not supported by the DPU on this GPU. Oh, okay. That's fascinating. Okay, so let's go ahead and just undo all of that and get rid of this stuff. Because it's clear that I don't understand enough to actually do anything of any value. So we're going to go ahead and save that and see whether it compiles. Okay. And then we're going to just try overriding some random stuff and learning how things work piece by piece. 10chaos1 says, I just realized my ISP was throttling my internet on YouTube, Twitch, and some other places, but I sure fixed that BS. Well, I got to tell you, I'm not giving you enough video for you to be throttled. So obviously that's slimy and you should kill them. But I'm just showing you this programming screen and talking to myself. So this is what I need to override. This here, it needs to be changed. So we're going to go ahead and just say o.albedo with no helping. There's no values here that set me up as being able to how do I say this? I can't do tab complete. No autocomplete. So we're going to go ahead and return a color, which is a fixed 4. No, it's a fixed 4.rgb, so fixed 4. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is say that c.rgb equals, I don't know what RGB is. Can I just specify it the same way as we do up top? I don't think so. This should barf, because the syntax doesn't work. Oh, it worked. This isn't C#. Idiot. Fucking idiot. Right, of course it's not C#. I'm just an idiot. I'm sorry. No wonder I've been confused. It's obviously not going to work. Ah, good. That doesn't look like it's the right color, though. That should be blue, right? The comma expression is used where a vector constructor may have been intended, so that's probably it. Do I need to give it another color? So I don't know what the constructors look like, is the problem. Yeah, so you just linked to the same tutorial I was using, and it doesn't give me what I need. It stops exactly where I need it to actually start talking. I have no problem with the basic idea of this stuff, but I don't have a list of how this shit actually works. For example, he doesn't use any initializers. He just copies. But it does have this, so maybe it is just a matter of typing in float 4 or fixed 4 here. Yeah, okay, that works. That is correct. Okay, good. But he's got... The only thing he's got that I like is the last thing he has is an object that just makes it red, which is what I need to do, but I can do that now. What I need now is some way of determining what is in this input in so that I can find the real-world space coordinate. Unfortunately, I don't have that information, so... You think this should be a float 3 instead? Let's try it out. Yeah, that also works. Thank you, Soup of Ken. It's clear that you know more about this than I do, but what I need now is a list of what is in input. Parameter. I need a list of all this shit because I don't know what's inside input, and there's no tab complete here. I can't go in dot and have it actually do anything. So trying to track down what this means is my big problem. As you may have guessed, input is not something Google can interpret very well as meaning a class name. So, it's not used in any of the any of the documentation. The documentations don't use the surface shader at all. That's interesting. They always use the vert frag approach, which is not compatible. Well, let's take a look at the surface shader. Struct input is defined earlier in the shader code. Oh, I'm just a fucking idiot. You're right. There it is. All it contains is the texture UV. I need it to contain the coordinate that I'm looking at. Can I add in the coordinate that I'm looking at? Just like saying, what would it be? A fixed 4? Float 3. So if I add in a float 3, pause. But that's the problem. I don't know what this does. Pause would be empty, right? So I can define the struct and it'll get filled in, but I don't know the magic word to get that struct to have a slot for the position. Boo, 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 boo. All right, I'm beginning to understand a little bit of what's going on. I just need to find the magic words that I need. I'm not sure that the surface can give me this value. People are mentioning other things, but not... It must be able to, right? That would be strange. Alright, so here they've actually got some samples that I'm looking at. Input can be filled with values, which Unity 3D will calculate for us. Adding float 3 world pause. Thank you. Thank you. Alright, so what we're going to do now is calculate the distance between the world position and our world coordinate that we would like to calculate. So doing that should be a matter of just doing a float range, but I don't know whether or not... These float 3s, they're not vectors. Can I make them into vectors, or would that be expensive? Can I do a vector 3? No, I can't. I can do a vector, but it doesn't understand the... I can't get any autofill, so I don't know what's inside that function. Oh, there is a distance function. Okay. Float range equals distance. Ah, perfect. And then we'll go ahead and use our world coordinate. In fact, this is exactly what would have helped me right from the start. So the world coordinate should be just accessible, right? Yeah. And then we'll take in.world pause. And we will say if range is less than world coord. I really hope that it doesn't calculate distance on the W and only on the XYZ. All right, so the sample that they gave, that's not going to work, is it? Shader error, undefined variable, world coord. Yeah. I got too used to typing coord. I started typing world. All right, so there we are. So this is, in theory, doing all the work. But, of course, right now, our distance is 0. So we're going to go ahead and update this to 100. See that? See that line? Look at that beautiful line, everybody. We've done it! Aha! I knew I could get it done. It's just a matter of figuring out what the hell the magic words are. There's got to be some kind of easy reference where it's all just listed, but that's not something that I could find. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know the word I need to type into Google. But basically, that is what we're trying to do. I will be changing it a little bit, but that is more or less what we needed. And it only took me 35 minutes. That was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. But there are other things that I need to learn about. So I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this page. So Alan Zucconi does a lot of tutorials, not just the one that was passed to me. I found the one that was passed to me on my own, but I found another one of his tutorials later on, which is surface shader specific. And it's much, much more what I needed, to the point where it's exactly what I needed. So I'll bookmark that, make sure that I don't lose track of it. But I'll also just leave it open. Let's close Shader Toy now, before it eats me. What I really need is just a list of all of that shit. Supercan thinks that range is a reserved keyword. If so, it's not. It's clearly a reserved keyword, but it doesn't look like it's a keyword here. We'll change it to R just for safety's sake. But that shouldn't change anything. Yeah, it's not changing anything. Now, if we move these objects, notice that the spot doesn't move because it's a world coordinate spot. So really, this is... I knew it was easy. I was just like, I can't do anything with shaders because I don't know anything about them, but this is like super easy. So I'll do it like this, and it worked fine. What we're going to do is add in a few new values that will make this a little bit better for us. One of the things that we're going to want to do is probably, instead of... well, in the long run, we're probably going to want to do some weird texture work. But for now, we'll just go ahead and make it a color. So this is going to be... world highlight color. And we're going to go ahead and make it yellow. And then down here, we're obviously going to do that same thing. Float for, or fixed for world highlight color. And then we'll drop this in instead of this forced value. But we're also going to go ahead and make it so that it lerps. I don't think that lerp is something that this code understands. Oh, it does. Cool. Let's go ahead and see whether or not we can get this to work. So divided by world. Okay, so hold on. Make it cheap. R divided by equals world coord.w, and that'll give us a 0 or a 1, between 0 and 1. So what we're going to do here is we're going to lerp. I don't know whether or not lerp just takes arbitrary values. We're about to find out. The world highlight color versus c.rgb with our r value as the argument. Again. There we are. See, now we've got a nice soft-edged value. I think what we're going to want... We could square it. If we squared it, we would end up with a different kind of value. But I think that it's okay as is. That doesn't look too bad to me. Yeah. Do I want a harder edge? Malsbeer says, all the stuff that can be put into the inputs function of the surface shader can be found here. Oh, that's exactly what I needed. Let me bookmark that too. There we are. Good. Thanks for pitching in, making my job much easier. So, to be honest, I think that maybe I preferred it when it was just hard-edged. Yeah, I actually think I prefer it like this. All right, either way, we have to turn the part of our Unity code, our C# code, that actually sets those values. We have to turn that back on. I believe that was in the ship physics collision detector, and I've got all these things commented out. Okay, so I actually deleted it. That's fine, I'll reprogram it. So public material array, important materials, we call world materials. What did I call the chord shader materials? So chord shader materials. Delete the highlight. Down here, we're going to get the target position as before. But then what we're going to do is go through all of the chord shader materials and set that m dot set vector 4. Here it is. We're going to want to set the world chord, and we're going to want to set that to our targpos. So hold on. We have to make this into a vector 4, don't we? Vector 4 targpos equals transform.position, and then we'll say targpos.w equals this. Now, I believe that vector 3s and vector 4s automatically convert back and forth. We'll find out real soon here. Yay, come on, there we are, good. So what we're gonna need to do now is fill that setup with its chord shader materials. The materials in question are the two materials that we just made. These both use our new shader, and we're going to go ahead and see what we're up to here. So we've got a yellow light, and that's going to screw things up a little bit just because it's our old way of doing things. Let's crack open this ship and delete that yellow light for now. Supifcan says, I think you can just do m.setVector worldpos vector 4 targpos w. Would that be any faster? I think it would be the same speed either way, Supifcan. If you think that would be faster, I can change it. Ah, look at that, perfect. It gives us a warning as to how close we are to the walls. Now, obviously, it's going to take some serious twiddling to make it so that it is as we prefer. Maybe I'll have like an inner circle that is red and then an outer circle that's yellow or something similar. But it's roughly 1,000,000 billion trillion times cheaper than using particles. Hey, Erdroy. So basically, as we move in, you can see that it's starting to show, but if we slow down, it vanishes, and that's the whole point. This reacts to the speed you're traveling, as well as the vector you're traveling, so you can tell how close you are to hitting the walls. Cute, right? Yeah. Erdroy says it only has a few seconds of delay. That's true for me too. This afternoon when I started it up and I hit reload on Twitch, it immediately popped right up. I was shocked. I've gotten used to Twitch telling me that I'm not online. It's so weird to have it, actually respond correctly. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take a picture of this. Oh, that's not what I wanted to turn on. Okay, so let me go ahead and start again. Take some screenshots of this and post it to Twitter because I think it's quite an accomplishment, and I'm sure that everyone else on the planet will too. Twitter's been buried under 800 tabs of searching for shader information. Wrote the shader I needed. Behold, warning yellow before you run into things. Screenshot Saturday, because why not, and indie dev. And now what we'll do is rewind this. Reboot it so I can get another screenshot where I can see something small. Well, that was exciting. Cool. Yeah, Superfcan, but Screenshot Saturday is an approved, or rather a monitored hashtag, whereas Screenshot Sunday is not. So anyone that's watching for Screenshot Saturday will catch that, whereas if it's Screenshot Sunday, they won't. The most fun thing about this for me is that the materials, when their values get set, they stay that way. So if I stop the game, it stays with those parameters. So if I were to do this and then stop the game. Cute, right? So what I really want to do is show some kind of texture in there. But the problem is that in order to do that, I would need to use a world coordinate texture system because there's no local textures that would make sense. And the world coordinate texture system works great on 2 axes, but on 3 axes it doesn't. It falls apart. So normally what you have to do is use 3 separate projections, one for each of the planes of the square, and then you have to determine which of those you're going to be using at any given time. And while I've done that before with plug and play elements, I've never tried to code that, and it would certainly take me a little while to figure that out. This is definitely good enough for now, so that's what we'll do. We'll leave it like this at the moment. The only problem I've got is that our size increases far, far faster than it needs to. So we're going to go ahead and just go make this like so. There's no reason for it to get that large. All right, not too bad. Not shabby at all. Superfcan says, couldn't you just sample a separate texture based on whether it's highlighted or not? Yeah, but the texture needs to be like a Tron-style glowing grid, And the built-in UV coordinates of this map aren't built to support that. So in order for it to look good, I need to use world coordinate textures. I can't just use the local UV coordinates. I keep doing the same thing because I'm testing how it feels at different speeds. You know, doing different things. A nimble damn ship. I'm getting used to it pretty quick. I think this might have some legs. I feel pretty good about it. Oh, I'm going backwards. Yeah. Did I finish the scan? I wasn't paying attention. Well, to be honest, I didn't have anything else on the plate today. I thought that was going to take me at least an hour, and it only took me half an hour. I am recording, about halfway through recording all the footage I need to talk about Nier in a lot more detail. So I think that a lot of people are probably going to want to see that. My Nier video gets a lot of views, most of which are people who are angry that I didn't like Nier, which isn't the case. I did like Nier, enough that I'm going to go ahead and talk about it in detail using a lot of captured footage. But what I didn't like is often the point of those videos, so they get a little bit obvious, you know. So now the problem is that I'm only illuminating a circle, a sphere, and what I really need to be doing is illuminating a cone. That's a little bit harder, mathematically speaking, so I may go ahead and leave it as a circle for now. But I'm projecting it too far away from the current position. So we'll go ahead and give it a 1.5 second lead. Should work. So Erdroy says, scanning target lost. What's this? Well, this is a salvage game. So I have a scanner attached to the bottom of this ship. Pause that you can see here. See that? It's a scanner, very basic scanner. And so what you do is you can run around and scan the salvage. And it counts up over time depending on how close you get. So there's a reward for getting real close because you scan better if you get real close. So that's kind of the point. I don't have any actual mechanics built around it yet, though. This is just like the fact that it exists. Supafcan says you could sample a cube map with the grid texture, with the coordinates being the fractional part of the world. Pause. I agree. I don't know how to do that. I don't have any pre-made cube maps, and I'm not 100% sure how to integrate them into this shader, especially given that I'm not sure that a cube map is one of the things that it understands how to accept as an argument. It must be, right? Because other people use cube maps all the time. Erdroy says, I would use some screen space shading. For what? The collision danger warning? Because your visuals are not, your camera is not necessarily going to be anywhere near the position that you need for forward vector of your ship, especially if you're doing something like going in reverse. Obviously, this is going to need to be visually enhanced, but I'll be honest, it feels pretty good. It feels like I have a good knowledge of where the ship is and how close I am to the walls. I think that this was a good choice. Good choice, me. Now all I have to do is make the camera suck a lot less. SuperCAN is giving me information about cube map stuff. Cube map reflection. Here's a shader that does cube map reflection built using the built-in world input. So you can take a cube map as an argument. I just don't know if I have any cube maps. But let's go ahead and try it out. So there it is. We'll just pop down here. World highlight cube map. Cube map. And then cube equals quote quote bang, I guess. I don't that's the first time I've seen that particular. I guess it works out down here too, huh? I'm not sure what that is. Must be meaning like cube map identity. And then down here we will use the argument sampler cube world highlight cube map. And in the input, we need to take the float3 world riffle. Now let's see. Yeah, that should work. Now all I have to do is make it so that it actually works. So here we can say c.rgb equals o.emission equals text cube. I'm just typing in stuff with no idea of what it's doing, so it's always what you get when you're just getting started with a new set of concepts. You're like, oh, maybe I'll understand this someday. Riffle. Okay, so that's what the demo says. Okay, there's something wrong here. Unexpected identifier sampler cube. Expected one of type def. Oh. My bad. There we are. Okay, so this is our sampler cube system. We're going to go ahead and pop a set of coordinates in here. Make it 30. There we are, something like that. Now we can take a cube map here, but we have no cube maps. So that is the problem. I've never even made a cube map, let alone have one on hand. Is there like a default set of cube maps I can import from Unity's basic packages? If I import the environment, will that get me a cube map? SuperCAN's letting me know that I misspelled lowercase sampler, which I did. Don't care about any of that. No, don't care. Materials. What are these? Are these cube maps? Those, no, those are atlases. I don't think cube maps would have anything to do with trees. It would be like, there'd be a cube map for the water, right? Well, SuperCAN, I do want it to be emissive. It's supposed to glow in the dark, but it doesn't really matter whether it's emissive or not. I was just copying code at that point, as long as it's something I can see. The problem is that I don't have a cube map, and what I really need is a cube map that's just a grid. And I know that Unity doesn't have any of those, because I've never seen them anywhere. There's textures, but I don't think any of these are cube maps. I don't see any cube maps in this package. And without a cube map, it's tough for me to test our cube map system. Well, if anybody knows how to make a cube map, let me know. Let me go ahead and quickly search and see whether there's one that I can download. Unity cube map. Just type it in. Unity cube map generator. That would be handy. I don't think it's true, though. A cube map is a collection of 6 square textures that represent reflections in the environment. The 6 squares form the faces of an imaginary cube. Yes, I am aware. The preferred way of creating cube maps is importing them from specially laid out textures. Okay, so I can just make any texture into a cube map. We'll do that. I don't have any textures, do I? Brilliant. Brilliant! I must have a texture somewhere. So far, I haven't needed a texture, so I don't have one in Unity. Let's go ahead and use this as the texture. There it is. So this is going to be our cube map. There is no cube map option. You lied to me. It changed to light map. No, it couldn't have. Light map means something else, right? This clearly says that it's for 27.1, so why is there no cube map option on importing this texture? Oh, cube. There it is. It's a texture shape change, not a texture type change. Jerk. All right. So let's go ahead and apply that. Now we've got our cube map, and we'll pop on over to the materials, prox interior, cube map, and prox hull, cube map. All right, so that is screen space. Oh no, that's not gonna work. I mean, maybe it could work. I could live with it, I guess, but I really wanted world space stuff. I guess I could substitute in something besides world reflect. The basic idea is there. I just need it to be something besides world reflect. Is world reflect? Let's see. World reflect is something. It's like a vector of some kind. I just have to figure out exactly what it is. Supafcan says do it with just plain old world pause. Supafcan and Malsbeer both figured out my problem while I was looking at another screen. Sorry about that. I'm glad you guys are here, though. It's so much easier when you have people who can tell you what the hell's going on. So the only problem I'm thinking of with the world position is that that's not going to be... Oh, it worked. Oh, that's weird. I didn't expect that to work. Oh, because it's a looping texture. That's okay. I can do that. I can live with that just fine. So that's pretty much exactly what I need. The only problem now, of course, being my utter lack of textures, which I'll have to solve by creating textures. And it looks real nice. I actually like this quite a bit. I think that this is... I'm not sure whether this is going to work because of... There are... let me go ahead and see whether I can show you. We'll back up a little bit, and then we'll get as much speed as possible. So, when you're doing this stuff, you get some strange things going on. So here, for example, is good. I guess this worked too. This is really weird looking, but it might work fine. We got this really heavy distortion here is the problem. And I don't really know... that distortion would be pretty noticeable. And it's going to get worse the further we get away from 0. So if I were to take one of these junk debris and duplicate it and move it down here, delete this guy, hit play. then we're going to see that this is not going to be viable. But what I could do is take the world coordinate and normalize it. Yeah, see how stretched that is? So that's not going to work. But if I were to normalize it, maybe... can I do that? No, because that would create a definite stretch if I normalized it. What I need to do is wrap it, bounce it, ping pong it. What is the ping pong? Do fract in that world position. Okay, fract is exactly probably what I'm looking for. It didn't highlight. It didn't show up though, so I don't see that this. If it didn't highlight, it probably doesn't exist. Yeah, fract doesn't exist. So we're gonna go ahead and highlight. Look for shader ping pong function. Does CG have an equivalent to ping pong? There isn't really a function. If you want a triangle wave, you can use frac with no T. All right, so let's go ahead and try that on for size. That's more like what I want to see. It probably still doesn't make any sense, but it works. If I divide this by, say, 3 or something similar, I'll probably get something that looks decent, but obviously the cube map I'm using is garbage. So, to be honest, this kind of hashed up visual is fine. We will be changing it to something else later on. Let's go ahead and divide the world pause by 5 and just see what we get out of that. 5F? Do we do the 5F thing? No, we don't do the 5F thing. Welcome to space. Ooh, that was interesting. This is more like what I want, but what the heck was that churning going on? Was that because I had two things overlapping on each other? Bam, 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 bam. No churning on this side. That's pretty much exactly what I want. All right, so let's go ahead and hop on over to Twitter or Twitch so I can see what's going on here. Ardroy says, "Ow, I've been outside with my dog. There are a lot of tiny frogs. It was hard not to step on one." Yeah. And Subafcan pointed out that it doesn't have a T on it, so yeah, we are all on the same page at this point. Aside from my utter lack of texture work, which is obviously my fault. All right. We did a lot today. Although it doesn't seem like it. In only an hour, we have created a shader that I desperately needed, and it works great. Only thing left to do is art assets for it, and that's, you know, going to be fairly straightforward. See that? What is that? Why is it chattering? Back up, back. Why is it doing that? We'll do that over on this side too. I bet it's a divide by 0 error. Is that exactly the 0? Yeah, so that's just because it's exactly at 0. It's very confused. It sure looks like Z fighting, but in this case it's Z fighting within the shader rather than between two materials. Or two objects. All right, we're doing well. Everything's going fantastic. Let's see if we can steer through this here. Oh crap! I'll learn it. I'll get used to it. The question is whether or not it is viable for determining that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. Perfect. Zoom. Crunch. Still need some brains. Well, we'll figure it out. Whoa. Oh, that didn't work out at all. You klutz. It's too big when we're going that fast. The highlighted area is so large that we can't actually see where the center of the circle is. If we can't see where the edges of the circle are, then we can't determine whether or not we're on course. Because it's the edges that really matter most. Oh, I didn't expect to miss it like that. Still, lots of work needs to be done, especially with the camera. It's not a very good camera. Well, that's to be expected. Oh, you know what the problem is? We're all off kilter. Oh, crap. I could definitely tell that we were not going to hit that target. You know what I need to do is understand how much strafing we're going to get in. So basically, this here, what I'm doing right now is multiplying the velocity by 1.5 in order to get how far ahead we should be. What I should try instead is squaring it. And then here we'll go ahead and add 5 and make this a square root. Oh no, it didn't work. You can't... I'm just an idiot. Rigid body dot velocity times. Although really there's no reason you can't square a vector. That's pretty trivial stuff. Okay, so there's something wrong with this. It's not showing up at all. Let's go see what the values are. Negative 2500. So it looks like it projected way, way far. Basically, if we go real fast, I want it to show us like real far away stuff. And if we're real slow, I want it to show us real close stuff. Later on, I'll probably have to do a... and this isn't working. Later on, I'll probably have to do a simple raycast to determine the range. A raycast with a maximum. Let's go ahead and do that now. So we will go ahead and undo all of that. There we are. And what we're going to do is do a raycast first. So ray equals transform dot equals new ray transform dot position comma and the direction will be in the same direction we're going, rigid body dot velocity. And then we'll do raycast hit. And then we'll say if physics dot Raycast. Ray out hit. And then the max distance of float max range equals rigid body dot velocity dot magnitude. We can make that different later. Yeah, that seems correct. We'll see. It might argue with us in a minute here. So this will be target pause equals transformed up position plus max range. And then here we'll go ahead and say target pause equals hit dot point. So the problem here is that we're going to end up hitting ourselves because we're just doing a ray cast from within the ship, and obviously that's going to end up hitting the ship, as you can see. So what we're going to need to do is have it ignore the ship. You know, it actually seems to be not hitting the ship. Well, let's go ahead and change this max range. But what we're going to want to do here is have this be offset. Rigid body dot bounds, closest point on bounds. Closest point to the bounding box of the attached colliders. Yeah, this is what I want. Rigid body closest point on bounds, transform.position plus rigid body dot velocity dot normalized times max range. That way we will be unable to hit ourselves. We will only emit from the bounding box. In theory, that should give us a nice, good reaction. Yeah, that's right. That's how I want it. Yep. But what I really want to see is what happens as we approach this guy. Because it should... Yeah, it no longer slides through like it did before. Once we've actually impacted with something, it starts to screw up. So let's go ahead and vector 3 ray origin equals this. Ray origin. And then what we'll do is say ray origin equals vector 3.lerp ray origin comma transfer rigid body dot center of mass in the world coordinate system, and we'll just make it like 0.01 something like that, just so that when we collide we can still get a value that's that collides with the wall. Oh, it still pops through. Okay, that's unfortunate. Actually, I'm not sure it's popping through. I think it might be because the velocity is zeroes out. So rather than popping through, what's happening is it's the velocity is just zeroing out. Okay, so that's fine. We'll go ahead and leave it like that. So, all right. I think that's good. I'm gonna stop now. My voice is a little bit sore because I've been recording footage for Nier for a while now, but I'm mostly going to stop because I've used up all my brain power. I did something I've never done before, and I also integrated cube maps, which, you know, I know what a cube map is, but I don't have to use them very often, so... what I really need to do is get a GIF creator for this Unity project, because I keep uploading screenshots. This is not a very screenshot-friendly game. It's supposed to be about the feel of moving through areas like this, and that's obviously going to be GIF-centric. No. Oh, that was close. Oh, there's no way. No way. Oh, gosh, that hurt. All right. I also have a new idea for a rope thing, but I've got to think about it. So I will see you, new rope solver, because the rope solver I created is fine, but it doesn't work for exactly what I need it to work for. I will see you next week. If you have any more things to say, I'll pay attention to chat for a little bit longer. Thanks for stopping by. A lot of you were extremely helpful, and the rest of you are always welcome anyway, as long as you don't actively mislead me, because I'm pretty easy to mislead. Hopefully the volume worked out and the frame rate was good. Still not sold on it, but I need to buy about 800 more foam panels if I want this room to stop echoing. And then I would look really strange, like this room would just be covered in foam panels. I guess that's the sacrifices you've got to make if you want to stop echoing. Where is the stop button?